everybody, it's Amalia and I'm here today with the Oh Inspired collab for February 2024. This is a collab sponsored by Crafty Al, Alicia from Call Me Crafty Al, and we are collabing every 20th of the month looking at different crafters who have inspired us. If you want to take a look in below, you can see that we have a list of all of the collabers in the collab, as well as a playlist that you can look through just to see all of the videos for this collab. This month we're inspired by Rochelle Block. We'll have links to her blog as well as to her Instagram in the description below. This is my stash of scraps. This is not scrap colored cardstock. This is scraps from sessions where I've done some crafting, where I finished up a paper pad, but I had scraps left over, so I adhered them to a page to make some backgrounds. This is pieces that when I've been working on multiple cards, I go ahead and I make extras and watercolor backgrounds that I'm just playing. This is like all of my extras that I haven't used on a card, but I may have prepared to create on a card, but I just never used it. For example, these right here are some cards that I never made, but there's a whole video on how I do that particular technique and etc. Sometimes I just sit at my craft desk and emboss things. I dry emboss, I use heat embossing. Sometimes I play with ink on Yupo, alcohol ink on Yupo, and I don't make a project with it necessarily, or I have leftovers. There's some definite leftovers right there. That's some graphic 45 paper. I made 100 flowers. I only used maybe 10. So these are all my scraps. And this is the card that I ended up making. Here's the inspiration piece. And I think for an experienced crafter, this is a relatively simple card to make. But for me, I had some issues. For example, I had to put some double-sided tape in it just to make the card sit flat, for taking pictures, for doing the video. Now, I use pre-scored and cut cardstock and envelopes, so I'm thinking that's why I had the issue. I used Yupo paper on this card. I used an embossed piece of cardstock, and I had to make another score in the card to glue it down. And so I think the layers of cardstock it made it difficult for this card to sort of open and close. I think you need to use lighter weight cardstock. That cardstock that I used with the purples and yellows, that's a piece of Yupo with alcohol ink. That's a pretty stiff piece of, I was going to say paper, but it's really plastic. And here are some of the other ones that I pulled out, but I decided not to use. I cut my paper wonky, and that was just making me crazy. When I scored it, the paper cracked. And with this one, that sun piece is the focal point. And I didn't want to put that heart on the focal point, and I didn't want to put it on the bottom of the page either, so I just abandoned that idea. And this one really just, it came out horrible. But if you look up close, I ran it through several times through my die cutting machine because there's 3 layers of paper that thin die had to go over, and it just modeled my cutting plates are very run through, very used a lot, and so it just modeled my paper. It impressed all the cutting lines on my paper. It was dirty from my cutting plates. Hello, I need to change my cutting plates. One other thing I noticed is that where it's die cut, some of the gold embossing is flaking off. It's not really a problem for me, but it's something I noticed. So here are my suggestions if you want to make this card. Use a lighter weight cardstock, design cardstock. Don't use embossing or heavyweight paper like Yupo, and don't use multiple layers. Here's the inspiration piece and my card. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think my card came out great. I added some alcohol ink butterflies that I had in my stash. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Bye!